All right, for the next little bit, we're going to talk about hazardous communication, and this is part of your right to know training. Hazardous communication is important. We encounter chemicals in the workplace. Chemicals make up the water, they make up the air that we breathe, and even the food that we eat. Some chemicals are very dangerous. They can cause burns to the skin or a serious fire. Other chemicals interfere with breathing. The materials that we may use on a job site are made up of various chemicals. So we are not chemical handlers as such, but in actual fact we do handle chemicals. Simple example of this, if you're fueling up a welder with diesel fuel, then you are handling a chemical. If you are spray painting a piece of handrail after you've gotten done working on it, then you are handling a chemical. If you put two-stroke oil or two-stroke gasoline with oil added into it into a demo saw, once again you're handling a chemical. Bondo, if you happen to be working on handrail to finish it out, you're handling a chemical. All of these are incidences where you would be handling chemicals. So, once again, we are not chemical handlers, but we do from time to time handle chemicals. Now, when we misuse or incorrectly use chemicals, we risk being injured. So the training that we're going to give you here in relation to this will provide you with the opportunity to discuss chemicals and how they affect us. And it will give you a better idea of where to look for the information that you need, how to find it. We make it available to you all the time. It's on all of your job sites. All of your foremen have this information. We have the information on file at the office. It's readily available to you, so we want to make sure that you can look at this information at any point that you need to. Now, the first thing that we need to discuss, we're going to take some time to do this in this first video, is routes of entry. Chemicals can enter your body in 4 different ways. These are called routes of entry, and we can absorb or inhale or ingest or inject. Now then, simple things to understand. If you understand, for example, the way medication works or any kind of substance that you would be taking into yourself for any reason, then you're going to understand these routes of entry. And I'm going to take them in this order for this reason. Let's say, for example, that an individual smokes. Well, if an individual smokes, then that person is inhaling certain chemicals in. Now, there's nicotine, there's tar, there's other things that a person may inhale if that individual smokes. So if that person has then decided, okay, I'm done smoking, I don't want to smoke anymore, but I don't think I want to quit cold turkey. So what I would rather do is I think I'm going to go get the patches that are available, and you can buy them at the pharmacy. And these patches that you put on your arm will then allow you to slowly wean yourself off of smoking. Well, the first route of entry was inhalation. The second route of entry, if, for example, you put the patches on you, is absorption. So you're still taking a chemical into yourself, but you're taking that chemical into yourself in a different way. So absorption is your second route of entry. Now then, ingestion is another way that you can get a chemical into yourself. For example, if you have a headache, say, for example, you go and you get some kind of pain reliever, Tylenol, Aleve, or Advil, or something, ibuprofen. You are taking the pills and you are putting them in your mouth. When you put them in your mouth, you are ingesting them. So that's another way in which you can get a chemical into yourself. It is another route of entry. The last one, of course, is injection. Now, years ago, before they had insulin pumps, for example, people who were type 2 diabetics had to inject themselves with insulin. So this was something that they had to learn to do, and this was a way that they could get that chemical into themselves so that they could maintain their regulation of their blood sugar. So that's your fourth route of entry. So you have those four routes of entry. Now then, I want to give you some quick examples of how this can happen on a job site. For example, if you may inhale something. If you are welding, and we weld all the time, if you're welding, then as those fumes come up into your nostrils as you breathe, you are inhaling certain chemicals. You can inhale chemicals in other ways. If you have Bondo dust, that Bondo dust, you inhale some of that Bondo dust. Now, the silica in your nose and nose hairs, that will help, but that will not stop it entirely. So you're going to be doing some inhaling. You can absorb if you, for example, get something on your hands, like say you're using some kind of a solvent to clean something off, then there's always the possibility that you're going to be absorbing that in things like xylene, things like methyl ethyl ketone that sometimes people use to degrease tubing and that sort of stuff. That is another method whereby you can absorb it into your skin. To ingest, if you come down off the iron and you don't, say, clean your hands off, and you've got bolt oil on your hands, or you've had bolt oil seep through your gloves when you were working on bolting up on the iron, then you unwrap your burrito, take the foil off of it, you grab it, and then you start to eat it. Well, you're starting to ingest then that oil into your mouth. Injection. If you have ever seen a hydraulic hose burst, the hydraulic oil comes out with great pressure. It can actually inject into your skin. Or there's other methods. If you have a contaminated piece of metal and it somehow pierces your skin, once again, you can be injected with the contaminant that's on that piece of metal. So these are the four routes of entry. I know it took a little longer for us to do that. We're going to stop there. We're going to go on in a little bit to talk about how you can find out whether a chemical is dangerous or what the hazards are in a few minutes. But for this little bit of time, we needed to discuss what the routes of entry for chemicals are.